Okay, we're back. We got our sides, we got our top, our bottom, and so forth. Let's do something silly here. Let's do something that's just going to show us things. And again, on a cube, this is going to seem silly. The reason we're doing this is because later on, when this is, we're going to make this little thing a texturizer. We're going to make this its own little digital asset within a digital asset. And let's colorize things, like maybe the back blue, RGB. Back blue. Wonderful. By the way, this one's gonna get complicated later on, which is why I'm going so kind of simply and slowly, because this is gonna get crazy really soon, especially as you see later on we do stuff. So hitting D and changing this around it is gonna save you a lot of pain. Let's make the front red. Front red. And again, the reason we're doing all this is because later on, when we're using it on the little bits and pieces after we've cracked everything up, people are going to want to, people meaning you using this, are going to want to be able to see what parts are colored, in other words, which things it's considering top, which is considering bottom, and so forth, and adjust the angles and stuff like that. So even though seems a little silly right now, making this so that we can easily see what's being considered front versus side and so forth is going to basically make our, that's interesting. Did I misspell side? No. We want just the sides to be, okay, we'll come back to that. We want the, let's do the top, bottom yellow. Top, bot, yellow. We want to be able to easily identify what things are. So that's what this stuff is going to do. By the way, I think we made these primitive groups, so that might have been part of my little freakishness, or the fact that I was trying to do things and talk at the same time, which might have been difficult as well. Let's make top and bottom so it can be yellow. Yellow is red and green, maybe? Yes, okay, sorry. Again, making things when you're trying to do things at the same time is hard. Okay, so see the top and bottom, and what did I say? The sides are going to be green. Let's go ahead and do that. Sides green. Sides. So the or just call it side. Yeah, there's the side. As a matter of fact, the reason by the way, sides obviously includes top and bottom. A reason for that that'll pop up later as well. You're gonna have to trust me on some of these things, and then as it comes up later, you'll be like, oh, that's why he did that. So we want sides to include top and bottom. In other words, it's all the sides. But we also want the top and bottom to be separate for something else we're going to do later. So now you can see we've got all our nifty things. So why do I care about all this stuff? Because we're going to make some textures. In other words, we're going to UV texture these guys for the placing of our images on there. So the first thing we're going to do, and again, we're going to, this is all kind of going to bubble up to the user later on. So initially, let's just talk about like everybody, all as if it was front. In other words, if we were just going to say we didn't care about what we did and we wanted everything to get textured at the a single way, texture all as front, let's say. Front, spelling, very important. And again, the reason, you probably know this from these other tutorials I've done, the reason I get so persnickety about this stuff, which seems like a waste of time now, is because later on you're going to look at this when it's been a month and a half and not know what's going on, and it looks like somebody else made it. You won't remember all these little details. So you think you will, but you kind of won't. So you always pretend you're making it for somebody else, even if you're making it for yourself. So let's say I want to do orthographic on the axis, scaled normal, and that's how I wanted to just texture it, and we just did that. That's how we would do it if we just did it. Now, the things we're going to use, we're going to change this scale. We're going to need this to be a parameter. Projection axis, we're also going to need that to be a parameter. Now, that's if we're doing all of them. But probably what we're going to do is a different thing for each guy. So like this would be texturing the sides. How would we texture the sides? We would probably texture the sides as, well, for one, we'd say just sides. Second place, in our examples, we would grab it from obviously the x-axis, right? And again, we're going to make these parameters, but we're going to make it vertex guy, and what to do. We're going to make it kind of a scaled down version. And again, you're wondering why this is. Once I throw a brick on there, you'll understand. Let's actually see what it looks like with the texture on. Sorry. This thing, all this stuff we're going to make that does this stuff, I said we're going to combine into what I'm going to call a texturizer. Let's just go ahead and do that now. Hit this button. Call that the texturizer. Yeah, that's how you spell things. Texturizer. We're making up a word anyway. It doesn't matter. Texturizer. I like it. Let's go ahead and make that a digital asset too. So it's giving me a bunch of warnings there, but this is just so we can reuse this later on. So after the texturizer, which again we're not quite done with, I'm kind of zipping along, but I want to show you what the textured wall is going to look like. So let's go ahead and slap down a material. And our material in this case is just going to be this is going to be going over everything, and it's going to grab a decal material. Now, since we don't actually have one yet, let's actually make one, which means we're going to make what's the word? I'm going to actually just put it, some people put this elsewhere. I'm going to put down a shop network right here that I'm going to call, what am I going to call this? This is basically the wall texture as opposed to the cut points. And the wall texture, I'm just going into here, is simply going to be your basic decal. But we're going to grab the wall image. Now, where is the wall image? Well, we could just grab this and blah, 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 grab that stuff. But, obviously that's one of our things we're going to need for our breakers. So let's go ahead and grab and make a dude here. Sorry. I'm going to go down to, and unfortunately you can't see this, going down to type properties. Is there some way I can get you to see this? I don't want to do this without you being able to see, and I feel like I'm cheating if I am. So I'm going to try to see if we can fit this in there. Jesus, still won't. Okay. I wish I could show this to you. There's the bottommost, when you right click, the bottommost thing is type properties, and that's what we hit, and that's what pops up this guy, okay? And this is where we're going to add parameters and so forth. In the case of the textures, we're going to add inside of here this guy, this texture map, which, for instance, we're going to grab, and from our HIP directory in the textures we've made, we're going to make our brick image. That guy, that's the guy that I want to pop this all the way up. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to right click, and unfortunately it's off the bottom of the screen for you guys, but there, grab that and say from nodes within this guy, inside of the material, or inside the wall texture, we're going to grab, we need the actual name of the material, which is, I guess I should have memorized where it was. Okay, inside of image breaker, inside of wall texture, it's this guy, which we float our mouse over there for a second. It's called map. That's clever. So map under main. Remember that, and then tell it back to me when I do it. We were looking from grabbing from the nodes inside this, inside the wall texture, inside the decal, inside the main, and what was it called? You're supposed to remember for me. Texture map. Good. Okay. Now, this is where a lot of times you want to just keep the names simple. So I'm going to call this image. And basically what I'm saying is that it's the image we're going to put on the wall. I'll call it wall image. So the one of them's going to be the wall image, the other one's going to be the cut image. And I also have a tendency to do this. I want to call it that. Apply, accept, and notice that it pops this up, which is really lovely. So it even popped the default up. This material guy is going to say for our rigger guys, we're going to grab from within. We're going to grab within our shop. We are going to, hold on for a second. We're going to go over here inside of material decal, which is doink, that guy. Not inside our shop network, inside our local guy. Why? The reason is because we want to have all of this connected to one thing. Because after we're done, this guy is going to be the image breaker for the brick wall, but I'll put another one for the stone wall here, and then the stony wall over here, and so forth. So, almost done. The excitement, yay. Okay, so as you can see, it's just putting the texture on there and putting it all the way through, and the beauty of it is we can change it up here so that later on we'll grab the stone image, or the other one. So again, not super exciting just yet, but the reason we're setting this up is so we can reuse things later on. Okay, in the next lesson, we're going to zip forward and start getting to the cool stuff, because I know you're wondering how we actually break stuff up. But you have to trust me, because some of the things we're going to do is like, do we actually want to stretch the image on here? Do we want to put a different image on here? In the case of the bricks, I don't think that looks good. We can probably grab the front of the bricks and put them on the side and so forth. With the case of the stone, actually, we would think that's good, but we do some other things. So again, it's all these things that seem a little bit of craziness like now, like I'm insane, but just going to have to stick with me. Okay, come back to the next lesson, and we'll get to the pedal meets the metal.